Hey guys, today we're going to be doing something different. Instead of your normal edit, I'm going to be doing a mock draft. So, without further ado, let's just get right into it. With the first pick, I have the Titans taking Cam Ward. Right now, the Titans need a little bit of everything, to be honest. So, the best thing, in my opinion at least, is to just start with their QB of the future and take Cam Ward. Will Levis pretty much was just only good in his rookie debut. And this season definitely proves he is not the guy going forward. So I think Cam Ward is a perfect guy for them. And arguably the best player in the whole draft. I don't think that is true, but definitely the best quarterback in this draft, at least in my opinion. So I have them taking Cam Ward. With the second pick, I have the Browns taking Abdul Carter. I know this might not be their biggest need at all, but after inking a huge deal with Myles Garrett to keep him in Cleveland, I think getting him a running mate would pretty much just be really beneficial and, make Myles Garrett a little bit happier about staying in Cleveland, even if they don't win that many games. With the third pick, I have the Giants taking Shedeur Sanders. A no-brainer here. The Giants defense showed some flashes last year, so I don't think they'll really take anyone there. They actually put up like a decent amount of sacks under Dexter Lawrence. So Travis Hunter, it would still be a good pick for them, but it's definitely not a secret that QB is by far their biggest need. Daniel Jones, he got cut in the middle of the season last year, and despite having some decent games, I don't think Drew Lock is their guy going forward. So I think they take Shedeur out of Colorado. With the fourth pick, kind of sad as a Patriots fan, but kind of lame too. But I think they're going to take Armand Membou out of Missouri. It's a very necessary pick, even though it's lame. Our offensive line was far from good last year. And Membou has been a late bloomer on a lot of people's draft boards, and he's arguably had the best combine out of all offensive linemen. And he's also made a nice case to be regarded to as the best offensive lineman in the whole draft. So, a good pick here for the Patriots, addressing a huge need. With the fifth pick, I have the Jaguars taking Travis Hunter. Maybe not their biggest need, but honestly just the case of taking best player available. I'm not sure if Hunter will end up playing both corner and receiver, but regardless, wide receiver and corner, despite whatever he plays, are two big needs on this Jaguars team. Gabe Davis, he wasn't really that great before he got hurt, and then Christian Kirk obviously got traded to the Texans. And then also, their cornerback room is Tyson Campbell and basically no one else. Monteric Davis, I think is his name, if anyone knows him. Shout out to you if you know him, but yeah, despite whether he plays corner or receiver, I think it'll be a very necessary pick and a great pick at that too. With the sixth pick, I think the Raiders take Tetairoa McMillan. After trading for Geno Smith, quarterback isn't necessarily something I see the Raiders taking, especially with Shedeur and Cam Ward off the board. They definitely could use another weapon besides Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers, and I think Tet makes a great weapon. You could argue for Ashton Jeanty, but I mean, they just signed Raheem Mostert. Not saying he's an elite running back, but I don't think running back is a position that the Raiders would take, at least with the sixth pick in the draft. With the seventh pick, I think the Jets take Will Campbell from LSU. The Jets are all over the place, and I mean, they just cut Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers. They got Justin Fields, so I don't think they take QB. One of the moves not being talked about, though, is them losing Morgan Moses to my Patriots. Even with Morgan Moses still on that team, this Jets offensive line is very weak. So I think, especially with all the moves at least the Patriots have been making to improve their defensive line, with the Bills re-signing Greg Rousseau, and the Dolphins just having a good defensive line in general, I think Will Campbell is a great guy for them to hopefully limit the amount of pressure on Justin Fields. With the eighth pick, I have the Panthers taking Jalen Walker. Jalen Walker definitely is one of my favorite players in this draft. He's very versatile. He can play both edge rusher and linebacker, and he can even play like defensive tackle if you want. Not one of his specialties, but he can if you really need him to. The Panthers got a very underrated player here, who also by far deserves to go in the top 10. And they fill multiple needs with one pick, basically killing two birds with one stone. With the 10th pick, I have the Bears taking Ashton Jeanty. The Bears have arguably had the best offseason in the league so far. They fully rebuilt their offensive line, getting Joe Thuney and Jonah Jackson, while also getting Drew Dalman to play center for them. Caleb Williams was the most sacked QB last season, so this was very helpful. You could also argue that they need a defensive line, but after signing both Grady Jarrett and Daya Odeyingbo, that isn't much of a need anymore. I think they get their dream player in Ashton Jeanty, creating a very powerful two-headed monster in the backfield. We know Ben Johnson likes having two very good running backs like he did with the Lions, so maybe Jeanty and Swift can be a good duo. With the 11th pick, I think the 49ers take Will Johnson. We were just talking about how the Bears had a good offseason, but the 49ers have been having arguably the worst offseason this year. They lost Talanoa Hufanga and Dre Greenlaw to the Broncos. Javon Hargrave, they released him, and Jalen Moore and Aaron Banks also left. Also, not to mention, Charvarius Ward was also signed by the Colts, I think. And they also traded away Deebo Samuel to the Commanders. So you might be wondering, they definitely got someone to replace all these guys, right? They got Demarcus Robinson. They definitely lost a lot more talent on the defensive side, though. So I think they just go best player available and take Will Johnson from Michigan. With the 12th pick, I think the Cowboys take James Pierce. After losing DeMarcus Lawrence to the Seahawks, James Pierce could be a great replacement for him and give Micah Parsons a new running mate. James Pierce had a stellar combine performance and is one of the best edge rushers in this class. With Jeanty off the board, the Cowboys go with their next biggest need and take James Pierce, who, if needed, can split the time with someone who could be his mentor in newly signed Dante Fowler for a year. With the 13th pick, I think the Dolphins take Tyler Booker. The Dolphins have been one of the more quiet teams this offseason, not losing anyone too impactful, but also just signing small players like depth through the free agency. I think they take Booker here to fill a need in the offensive line and hopefully limit the amount of concussions Tua experiences. With the 14th pick, I think the Colts take Tyler Warren. He's a very talented player, and they could definitely use some tight ends with Jelani Woods being on and off the field, and their other tight end being Mo Alley Cox. I think they get their first good tight end since Eric Ebron or arguably Jack Doyle, and take Tyler Warren. With the 15th pick, I think the Falcons take Mykel Williams. Another very underrated edge rusher out of Georgia. I think he'll stay in Georgia and go to Atlanta. The Falcons' front seven is barely above average, and now that they lost Grady Jarrett, it's even worse. Their defensive line is now highlighted by Leonard Floyd and David Onyemata. I think Mykel Williams is a great pick for them here. With the 16th pick, I think the Cardinals take their second edge rusher in the first round in a row with Shamar Stewart. Despite taking Darius Robinson last year, I think that their defensive line is still very mediocre, and I think Stewart can be a very good piece to the puzzle on their defense. With a defensive coach like Jonathan Gannon, I think he could definitely be someone who blossoms on that defensive line. With the 17th pick, I think the Bengals take Malachi Starks. What an unfortunate season for the Bengals. Jamar Chase had a historical season, leading the league in catches, yards, and touchdowns, but Joe Burrow had the most passing yards in the league, and they went 9-8. If their defense even had just one more good player, I believe that they definitely could have went 11-6 easily and made the playoffs. Their defense is the main reason they missed the playoffs last year, so I think the obvious pick here for them is Malachi Starks, who could be, hopefully, their next Jesse Bates. With the 18th pick, I think the Seahawks take Kelvin Banks. Just like the Patriots, the Seahawks O-line was far from good last year. After getting Sam Darnold, they need to make sure he's upright when he throws the ball instead of being laid down on the ground in 2 seconds. Despite having a quiet last few months, I think Kelvin Banks can be a great pick for the Seahawks and help the Seahawks offense be at their peak. At 19, I think the Bucks take Derek Harmon. The Bucks could definitely use a running mate for Vita Vea, so I think the right pick here is just taking the best interior defensive lineman available and taking Derek Harmon from Oregon. With the 20th pick, I think the Broncos take Matthew Golden. The Broncos have had a very underrated free agency so far. I don't know if it's just me, but it seems that like no one is really talking about it. They landed 2 studs on defense from the 49ers in Talanoa Hufanga and Dre Greenlaw, while also adding Evan Ingram on offense. Before this week, Colson Loveland was a no-brainer. basically the locked-in pick for a lot of people. But now I think they take Texas wideout Matthew Golden. At the 21st pick, I have another trade. I have the Vikings moving up to 21 while sending the Steelers 24 and their third round pick next season. I think the Vikings make this move to get Jahdae Barron out of Texas, someone who Daniel Jeremiah is very high on. Barron is a very versatile defender who can play both corner and safety. That sounds like a match made in heaven for the Vikings. After losing Cam Bynum to the Colts and Harrison Smith getting up there in age, I think Barron is the perfect pick for them. Don't mind the random clips. I seriously just do not have any Saints clips at all. But at the 22nd pick, I think the Saints take Nick Amanwari out of South Carolina. He had one of the most underrated combines this year. Among all safeties, Amanwari had the second fastest 40-yard dash, the fastest 10-yard split, the highest vertical jump, the longest broad jump, and the most reps on the bench press. I think he would be a very slept-on player, or I think he is a very slept-on player at this draft, and I think after losing Paulson Adebo and Tyrann Mathieu, only getting older from here, I think he's a great pick for the Saints. With the 23rd pick, I think the Panthers take Siobhan Ravel. With a lot of rumors and speculation about Jaire Alexander being traded, and even the Packers implicating a trade coming soon, I think the Packers don't wait to find a replacement for him and take Ravel with the 23rd pick, another very underrated player in my opinion, from East Carolina. With the 25th pick, I think the Texans take Josh Simmons. A move that really came out of nowhere, the Texans trading arguably the best offensive tackle in the league behind Trent Williams, Laramie Tunsil to the Commanders. I think offensive line is a big need for them. I think they're quick to replace Tunsil, especially after being top 5 in most sacks allowed this year. With the 26th pick, I have the Rams taking Jahad Campbell. It seems like the Rams are pretty much allergic to making bad draft picks. They constantly find draft steals, and I think they will get another one here and take linebacker Jahad Campbell. Linebacker isn't necessarily a huge need, but definitely a position they can improve on. With the 27th pick, I have the Ravens taking Ariante Ursary. Maybe a little bit of a reach for the Ravens, but at this time in the draft, Ursary is the best offensive lineman on the board, in my opinion. He is big, 6'6", 330, and he's one of my favorite players in this draft as well. He did a nice job in limiting Abdul Carter when Minnesota played Penn State, so he might fare well when the Ravens play the Browns, especially if they take Abdul Carter. With the 28th pick, I have the Lions taking Mike Green. Another commonly mocked pick in a lot of people's mock draft, it has the Lions taking Mike Green. I'm on the Mike Green train. I think Mike Green is a very underrated player. He had an excellent Senior Bowl and really was able to boost his draft stock. The Lions had so many defensive injuries last season, and their lack of depth really showed. I think Mike Green is a no-brainer for the Lions, especially if he's available. With the 29th pick, I have the Commanders taking Walter Nolen. I think the Commanders have been having another really good offseason. Another very underrated player in Walter Nolen, somewhat of a late bloomer as well. After losing Jonathan Allen, I think this is a very good pick for the Commanders, especially with Walter Nolen having a very nice showing in the Combine and a also very nice performance in the Senior Bowl. With the 30th pick, I have the Bills taking Benjamin Morrison. The Bills are yet to agree to terms with cornerback Christian Benford, and even though this could be looked at as a tiny reach for the Bills, I think they still take him with the 30th pick, especially if they aren't able to agree on terms with Benford. I think Benjamin Morris could be a nice pick for them. With the 31st pick, I have the Chiefs taking Tyleik Williams. I know that they have Chris Jones, but they do run a 4-3, which means they have 2 defensive ends and 2 defensive tackles. Their depth at defensive tackle is weak, so I think Tyleik Williams can be a great player under Steve Spagnuolo, and he can really improve their defense. You could argue for maybe offensive line help after they were thrown around in the Super Bowl by the Eagles, but I still think that Tyleik Williams is someone they take here. With the last pick in the first round, I have the Eagles taking Nick Scortone. After losing the highest rated player in all of free agency, Milton Williams, to my Patriots, I think they try and replace Milton Williams with Nick Scorton. Scorton was really good at Texas A&M, and it's another one of my favorite players in this draft. You could argue for the Eagles taking someone in the secondary, but being this late in the first round, the best available players in the secondary are Trey Amos or maybe Xavier Watts. I think Nick Gordon is the right pick here. Alright, so that was my 2025 mock draft. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like and also leave a comment if you think there's anyone I missed or any other picks you think should be different. I'm just doing this for fun. I'm not like a professional like analyst or something. I don't really know everything about all these players, like how they sleep, how they breathe. So some of these picks might be a little like weird for you at least. You might think it's like a bad pick, but I'm just doing this for fun. I just like want to do this for fun basically. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys want me to see a second round, please let me know in the comments, and I definitely will if you guys want me to. So I hope you guys have a good day, good rest of your day, good rest of your night if you're watching this in the night, and I'll see you guys next time.